right. We're live. Alrighty. Steven,
Hi.
aka Destiny.
What's up?
Where did Destiny come from?
When I was a kid, I thought it sounded cool. I named myself Destiny.
Okay.
That's literally it. I wish it was more dramatic than that, but I thought about creating a cool backstory for it, but it's kind of hard with the name Destiny.
Okay. What age was that?
Probably like 9.
Okay. And then it stuck with you. So do you get weirded out when people like say, well, what's up, Destiny? You're like, do you cringe at it? You're like, no, it's this, because you introduced yourself over email with me as Steven, not Destiny.
Yeah, that's my real life name. I think that online, the moniker, obviously my channel name, my Instagram, everything is Destiny, but in real life, I go by Steven, believe it or not.
Okay, cool. I'm going to do my best with this interview because last time I interviewed someone who had a very big presence online, you might know him. His name is Andrew Tate. I interviewed him 3 years ago, and all you see in the comments is everyone reaming me out for interrupting. So I'm going to try to learn. I don't think I interrupted too much. Maybe people just really love Tate that much. They just wanted to hear every single second.
Interrupt as much as you want, okay? Don't worry about it.
Fantastic. Okay, well, let's start. So first question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you enjoying life right now?
I'd give it anywhere from a 7 to a 9. Just depends on the day.
Okay. I mean, you must be excited by the fact that you're getting invited on all these live shows. You put out any sort of content, it gets hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. Is that what you wanted to achieve? Like, is this something where you're like, oh, wow, I did the thing I was seeking to do, or did it just kind of happen out of nowhere?
Well, I mean, it depends on what point of my life you're talking about. When I was 19, 20, I think my dream was to make enough money not to get kicked out of my house. So, I mean, I would say I'm doing significantly better than that. As for where I'm at now, my next year, we'll find out what's going on. I think I probably want to do more politically active stuff. And I finally have a couple of people behind the scenes that are helping me get connected a lot to kind of political campaigns, and then we'll see how we can kind of utilize my audience that way. So that's like the next big thing. This past year has kind of been the whole red pill dating arc and everything, which has been interesting, but mostly just sad. So yeah.
Sad?
Yeah.
How so?
It feels like red pill to me is kind of like the Bigfoot, I guess, of the bird spotting world or whatever, of like where it's just like it's this whole community of people that are, in my opinion, entirely delusional, but they've all like convinced themselves of these things that are completely not mapping onto any reality, either data driven, anecdotally driven, personally driven. The content creators don't do any of it. Like, it's just like insane to me how many people are kind of bought into these concepts. So
okay, I was going to get into this later, but we'll get into it now. So when I think of red pill, simply put, I think female nature, male nature. Would you say that's sort of the basis of what people are trying to explain in the manosphere and the red pill community?
Ostensibly, I mean, they say that. Sometimes it just feels like a lot of it is like very hate driven.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that there is any truth, or even in your own experience, to the fact that men and women are different, and so there is a sense of male nature and female nature?
I mean, yeah. I mean, everybody's. I think you can say broadly speaking, men and women are different, but I think the overlap is way larger than the differences. Like a Venn diagram between men and women, like people act like it's like this, like barely touching, whereas it's probably like 85% overlap. I think there are a few key differences that are important to talk about, but the whole like men are for Mars, women are for Venus, I don't agree with that. I think we have way more in common than we do different. Okay, got it. Okay, before we get back into that, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview is I personally wanted to learn more about you and who you are as a person. And of course, we'll get into more red pill stuff later and your thoughts and opinions on that. But, you know, where did you grow up? A place not too unlike this, actually, Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you laughing about? You don't think Omaha and Chicago are fairly similar? Listen, okay, hold on. Listen, I've been living in LA. I've been living in Miami. Okay. Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, Omaha. They're all pretty similar to me. Okay. Let's calm down here. All right.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Midwestern, big, like cities that are decent sized cities, but they're not like coastal. You're not like in New York City. You're not in Seattle. You're not in San Francisco. So
you live in Miami.
I do now. Yeah.
Do you like it?
I do like it, but I'm still taking umbrage with the fact that you guys are making fun of my Omaha town. Okay.
No, listen. I would say Chicago is definitely different than well, I think Chicago is like a baby New York.
Yeah, you would. Because you're born and raised here. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. A baby New York. Okay.
Yeah. It's a smaller version of New York. Not
So
as
what does that
crazy.
mean? Like all of the crime, none of the economy, or?
I would say it is, versus like LA or Miami, it's got that urban feel. I can't imagine Omaha has an urban feel.
Oh, we've got an urban feel. All right. We remodeled the whole downtown. It's got cobblestone, horses.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, the old market, guys.
You went from dirt to cobblestone.
Yeah, okay. And if you drive out, you can see cows and corn. It's pretty cool. We got internet down there, phones, electricity for at least 20 years. Like, yeah, it's a good place. Okay.
Killing it. Okay. Did you want to just get out of there as soon as you could?
Yeah. Yeah, but I have a son down there, and I didn't want to move until he was like old enough for me to kind of have that conversation. So I didn't want to move when he was like 2 or 3. So I waited until he was 8, and then we talked about it, and then I moved. And yeah.
Okay. Are you still close with the baby mama?
Yeah, like we keep in contact. We have to parent and everything. We don't hate each other, but we're not like super close friends. But yeah, we talk a fair bit, usually about my son. Yeah.
Okay.
Our son, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up in Omaha. What was your relationship like with your parents?
Relatively distant. They tried their best, but they were really busy with everything. So I kind of just stuck to myself. Yeah.
Okay. Did you think that had an effect on you?
Yeah, probably. I think probably a good one. I'm a pretty self-driven person. I don't need a lot of external validation or anything.
That seems like that's a positive effect.
I would say so. Definitely in this industry, it equipped me to deal with a lot of adversity. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was looking at your Instagram earlier and looking at the stuff that you were posting. And on the stuff that you were posting on your Instagram, there's people over there hating on you.
Yeah, it really just depends. You can probably follow, you know how like archaeologists can look at like a mountain and you can tell based on the layers of sediment, like, the time period. You can go through my Instagram and find out which communities I was fighting with, probably based on the picture. You'll see some picture, a bunch of people calling me a cuck, probably red pillars. You might see a bunch of people calling me a Nazi, was probably fighting with left-leaning people. See a bunch of people calling me racist. I was probably fighting with some BLMs. Like, it just depends. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Okay, who's next to fight with after the red pill? You're getting into politics soon.
Well, technically politics is where I come from. And then I got into red pill stuff. But next, I'm not too sure. It might be fighting. Hopefully it's fighting with Republicans, because that's who I don't like the most. Going into the next year, it'll depend on how strong that kind of like far left movement is online, though, because they like to fight a lot too. So, but it should be fighting against Republicans and conservatives generally. Okay.
Back to your parents. So are you close with them now?
Close-ish. Like we live close. I think we probably live about an hour from each other, but I'm working like all the time, but yeah.
Oh, they're in Miami.
Technically a place called Homestead, but yeah.
Okay.
Like an hour south, yeah.
Do they watch your stuff? Are they proud of what you do? Are they like, holy shit, our kid is killing it online, and where the hell did this all come from?
Yeah, a little bit. My parents super love me. They're supportive of basically whatever I do. My mom wishes I didn't cuss so much. She's like a very MAGA, pro-Trump, Cuban immigrant. But no, they both love me. They both support me. Yeah.
Okay. Was there a lot of intellectual discussion happening in your household? Like you say if you look at the sediment, right, and you look at all the debates you've had over the years, it almost would seem like you've come from a family of intellectual discussion, debating, fighting. What did it look like, or am I just totally off?
Yeah, not at all. That would be cool though. My parents are just very much have always been kind of like ride or die Republicans. So I grew up just like learning. I listened to Michael Savage, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Billy Cunningham, all of these like conservative, to Glenn Beck, all the conservative talk radio guys. I personally like to argue a lot. So like when I would go to school, I would fight with a lot of people. I argue that way. So I've always been kind of like a debater, argumentative person, but there wasn't much argumentation in my family because I just kind of like fell in line with all the conservative talking points, basically.
Okay. Did you get bullied, or were you a bully when you were younger? Because you sound like you would be a bully based off of, I would still fight with people and start arguments with people.
No, I was funny. I think if you're funny, you get a pass on so many things. So I had like a lot of different friends from a lot of different communities, just because I could always make anybody laugh. Also, I don't know if I went to a Catholic high school, so I don't know if life is significantly different there versus like on TV shows, but I would say in general, people weren't bullies there. Like you don't have Like the biggest bullies that I ever remember in school, I don't know if it's like this in normal public schools, but the biggest bullies in school were usually kind of like the loser kids. They would just bully other people. But like people on the football team weren't bullying like random nerds, or people like in the wrestling team weren't bullying like band kids, or like that just didn't happen because they usually stick around, and two, usually most of those people were like generally pretty cool. Like they just saw you in the hallway and they might make a joke maybe or something, but generally no, I never saw any of that kind of stuff in my school. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because what you're describing is just the portrayal of TV in the 90s.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. But I don't know, maybe in normal public schools, maybe it was like that, where like, I can't imagine though, like in my high school, like a bunch of football kids like going up to like a nerdy guy and like trying to bully him. Like they just wouldn't talk to him. They probably just like keep walking and they just talk with their friend group and everything. But
right. It's almost, I would say you probably on average would not see that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious like where that would even come from when you're watching TV and you're saying, well, why are all the jocks the bullies and the nerds? But it's like, I mean, I went to a very big high school. I went to a 4,000 person high school.
Okay.
So there was so many cliques, like that whole idea of what like the media would portray or Hollywood and television would portray was not at all. It was a lot of interminglings.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd have people who played sports who were friends with people who didn't play sports, and yeah, maybe there'd be someone who would be a bully, but it wouldn't be because of any specific reason of who you're associated with and if you're smart versus not smart.
And usually when I think of the people that were bullies in my high school, usually they were, I say losers, it's kind of mean, but they're people that they're not doing extracurriculars. They're not part of any sports team. They're just kind of like on their own, and they're kind of no honors classes, kind of weird. And they're just like kind of being rude to people, but
super outsiders.
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think I heard you say on an interview that you're autistic.
A lot of people say that.
No, I think you said that.
I say it jokingly. I don't know.
Okay, so that was a really dry joke.
Maybe. All my jokes are pretty
autistic.
dry. I might be. Who knows? The jury's out on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Heterosexual, bisexual.
Probably leaning into the bi one a little bit.
Okay. So, and you have an open relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
And so, are you hooking up with men and women outside of the relationship?
Sometimes, yeah. Generally women, but yeah.
Okay. When does it become that you're hooking up with men?
I don't know, probably around like 29, 30.
Okay, so that's like it's like a phase.
Well, that's when I started, so.
Oh, that's when you started?
Yeah.
Okay. And is she bisexual as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does this play out in your relationship if it's open, where you two can go off and hook up with, looks like at this point, lots of people because you're bisexual?
I think.
Where do the rules come into play?
So in an ideal world, usually we're both seeing somebody at the same time, or we're both traveling at the same time. So there's not like feelings of jealousy or resentment. And hopefully it's a person that's not like rude towards the other partner. So like if I find some girl that's like shitting on Melina publicly, probably not going to be okay. If she's with some guy that's like shitting on me publicly, probably not going to be okay. But I'd say like roughly speaking, those are kind of the rules. And then making sure that everybody's like currently happy in the relationship. Like it's probably not good to have like a big fight and then, I go hook up with somebody. It's probably not a good thing,
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. So if you do have, are hookups allowed, or is it like, hey, it's not hooking up, you have to be in there has to be some sort of emotional connection or more substantial thing?
I'd say for our relationship, it's probably like hookups plus. Like we're not quite like poly. We don't like have 3 people living in a household, like all dating and loving and blah, blah, blah.
Would you like that?
Yeah, as of recently, actually, because I need somebody to cook and clean. So, if there's a third wife out there that wants to, that'd be an interesting lifestyle. I'm not sure. The big limiter right now in my lifestyle is usually just that I work a lot. So like I barely have enough time for my wife. So to add another person onto that seems like it would be even more challenging. Yeah, but I think that like, I don't think neither me nor her prefer like just one night stands. It's not really that much fun. It's not fulfilling. So kind of like longer term, like sexual friendships, I think are the ideal.
Sounds like a lot of work.
I mean, as much work as maintaining any friendship is, right?
Yeah. And friendships are a lot of work.
Yeah, true. Well, just like friends, but you fuck them,
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So I also heard on another interview, which I found interesting. You never seemingly had to ever look up dating advice when you were younger. You didn't have problems with women. You spent a lot of time around women when you were growing up. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of I grew up very independent, So I've kind of always been independently minded. So I'm not like generally looking for validation from external
real quick,
people.
do you have siblings?
Kind of, yeah. I've got, technically I've got like 4 or 5 siblings or 5 or 6 siblings.
Okay.
But my parents were divorced before. So most of them are out of the house. So I'm kind of the second youngest, but then I'm also kind of like really the oldest brother of two. Like it's me and my little sister, however you read that. But I'm not very close with any of my family or siblings. So.
Okay. But you're close with your parents.
I'm not very close to my parents. They live near me and we try to see and talk to each other, but I'm pretty kind of like on my own generally most of the time. Yeah.
Do you just not like them?
No, I'm just kind of like an on my own. I'm a Sigma male, you know? Have you ever heard the...
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Do you have a problem with Sigma males too? This guy says, he seems like he's got a lot he wants to say with it. No, I'm sorry. No, I truly do. I tend to just stick out on my own. Because I'm always like
sheep.
Well, how about lone wolf?
Blue
okay.
sheep.
How about lone wolf? Okay, let's go with that one. No, I like to do my own thing. It makes me uncomfortable when people are like relying on me for happiness or like worried about me or want me to check in or need something from me. Like I kind of like to do my own thing. I like to work when I want to work, hang out when I want to hang out. I like to be in control of all my stuff. And generally, the more attachments you have, the more you're kind of like owing other people. I just had a friend, I'm pretty sure a friend, talked to me like 2 days ago about our relationship and how he says it works really well because we like to argue and shout at each other, but our expectations of each other are very, very, very low because it's hard for me to like commit to anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, being that the way that you're describing yourself right now, it almost makes sense why you're in an open relationship where it's like you almost don't want to commit to anything fully but yourself.
Yeah, that's well. If you want to put it in the most negative framing possible, sure.
I don't know if it's a negative. It just is what it is.
Okay, sure. It's
okay.
probably kind of true. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So back to what you were saying. You had a lot of girlfriends growing up.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that. So,
through a really bizarre stroke of luck, my mom moved out when I was like 14, 15, and she took my little sister because my little sister homeschooled, and my mom wanted to be with her mom in Florida when we lived in Nebraska. And then my dad moved out when I was like 15 or 16. So it was kind of just me living with my grandma in like a retirement home. And so it was like getting rides to school was a little difficult because I didn't have money for a car yet. Sometimes my grandma's friends would drive me. There was a person I met online once that gave me a ride to school. Just like kind of weird. Weird stuff. I happened to have a girl through a mutual friend contact me, and she basically said that she could give me rides to school if I paid her a little bit of gas money. And because of that, I basically kind of became like stuck to her. So she would pick me up after school, but if she wanted to hang out with her friends or if she was like volunteering or doing whatever, I was kind of always around her and her group of friends. And so it was always her and like 5 other girls that I'd be hanging out with all the time, basically. Yeah.
So did you find that all that time spending around females that you started to feel comfortable around them or understand them more?
I mean, I don't think I was ever necessarily,
way.
It probably helped a lot, but I don't think I've ever been like uncomfortable around any person. I'm just really lucky that I don't think I grew up feeling that way. Like I've always been able to integrate with a large amount of people. Like I've always been, even before streaming, I've always been like pretty non-clicky. Like I'll generally talk to most people or hear somebody out. And that probably just extended to the groups of friends too, like all the girls or whatever. Yeah.
Interesting. I was just thinking too, as you're saying this non-committal person that you are, no wonder you're going into all these different areas of debate. It's like all these different topics, all these different communities. You're really heavy in the red pill manosphere debates right now. Who knows, maybe in a year, 2 years, that's going to be, out the window. You'll be debating someone else, and you just kind of bounce around. And
I mean, it goes by whatever is currently capturing my interest. I have a wide variety of interests. So there's a lot of things that I enjoy debating, but sitting in one topic for like years and years kind of exhausts me because all the arguments basically get played out. Like even at this, there's going to be people in my audience that are memeing like, oh, what's the difference between men and women? Or, oh, do body counts matter? Because there are like so many of these types of conversation topics. Not to point out, I don't know if you're talking about these or not.
No, I'm just looking right now. I haven't looked at the chat.
Oh, sure. But it'll be the same like when I argued, when I was debating like communists for a long time. It's like, oh, are co-ops better than capitalism? Or, is everybody systemically racist or evil? Or if I'm debating conservative, it's like, are we talking about trans people again? So yeah, I'll get fatigued on a topic and then kind of move on to something else to talk about. Yeah.
What do you hate debating the most?
The two topics, one of which somehow I've been roped into debating a lot recently, is veganism and abortion.
Okay. And you just don't enjoy that.
They really like hit at the boundaries of like human knowledge, like things we can even know, like asking really hard questions, like what is it like to be an animal? And it's hard to answer really, like what is it like to be a human, or when does human consciousness start, or when does human life start? Like these are things that test a lot of like the absolute boundaries of things we can know. So it's kind of annoying to argue them because people have really strong opinions about them.
You don't seem like an absolute guy.
Is there am I like half woman or no? I'm just kidding. I know what you mean.
Is there anything you do feel absolute on?
Yeah, there are a few things. Yeah.
Like,
oh, I have my notes somewhere. I think I've like just still like, there's like 5, because I know people like list so much. There's like 5 kind of like broad rules for, I say like politics, but it's probably for life in general.
okay.
I'm not going to remember all these stuff in my head, but like one is like, if you're ever trying to figure something out, don't just define yourself by your opposition. So like teens might go through a rebellious phase, but you don't want to spend your whole life saying these guys believe that, so I'm going to believe the opposite. People do that all the time. Don't demonize or villainize people that disagree with you. People can disagree with you for reasons that are virtuous, even if you guys have totally opposite feelings about a thing. It's probably not
That's
that they're
a hard one.
Yeah, but people assume people are evil. Like if they disagree, it's because they're evil, horrible people. There's probably some others. I don't remember the other 3. I have notes for, I gave a speech to a bunch of high schools the other day, and I like formalized this, but there's just like a couple of kind of like approaches to life basically that I've kind of kept for probably about 20 years that I haven't really changed my mind on at all. So I don't think I'm going
Destiny's 5 commandments of
something like
living.
that, basically. Yeah. Don't follow politics if it makes you miserable all the time. That's stupid. Like always start with yourself. You can't go out and build communities or families or the world if your own place is like a nightmare. Don't get like so obsessed with the federal government, the international world. If like your own individual world is miserable, like clean up the area around you. Yeah, there's a couple more. But
this is Destiny's Rule to Life. This is your book.
Yeah.
Are you going to write a book?
If I get banned on YouTube, sure. I don't need the money right now though, but maybe.
I doubt you'll get banned on YouTube.
Okay, we'll see. I admire the vote of confidence. So
if Fresh and Fit are not banned from YouTube, I don't know how you would be gone before them.
They're on like strike 2. So
are they?
I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, I read that on Reddit. Maybe they're not, but
well, then you have to get on Rumble, right?
Maybe
do that whole thing. Okay, so you grew up around a lot of female friends. It's interesting. So as you're just learning, I'm a dating coach for men.
Mm-hmm.
So I help shy men and men who are even not necessarily shy attract women, be able to have dating lives that they want, basically have more choice in women.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard on one of the interviews that you grew up around women, and that I remember you said something to the degree of, okay, you weren't uncomfortable around them from the beginning, but it still taught you some things.
Mm-hmm.
And I also grew up around women. I had a close relationship with my mom. I had a girl best friend who lived across the street from me. She had her girlfriends. I would hang out with them all the time. I was like in the inner female circle, and of course, friend zoned, which wasn't really a problem. I wasn't trying to go after those women or anything like that, but I was around women all the time. And even though I had that experience, I only felt that maybe helped me 25% of the way in terms of understanding women to the point of like, how do I get them attracted to me? Because the advice I would hear from them all the time, what I remember was be really nice to women and get lots of compliments and just all this kind of like be a sweetie. And that did not help me in college. That did not help me in my early 20s. And so my journey is that this is pre-Red Pill. I found the pickup community, which is another community which is can be very dangerous if you go too far into it.
Uh-huh.
Luckily for me, I didn't go too far into it. I picked what would work and what didn't work. But the things that I found worked were the opposite of what I was around when I was around a lot of women, which was being more assertive, being more confident, not giving them lots of compliments, not trying to be the simp, as they say. So I'm curious your thoughts on, this idea of the advice that you might hear from betas or blue pill versus what you might hear in like a red pill community. Both seem to be maybe on the extreme end, but any thoughts on that in terms of like being nice versus not being nice, simp, non-simp, things like that?
Um, anybody that describes themselves as a pill, I would suggest ignoring completely, because usually their advice is way too extreme, and usually they don't understand what they're saying. Like, people can give good advice without understanding why it's good. Like, telling you to be nice to women is good advice, and it can work in some circumstances if you understand why. Telling somebody to be mean to women can be good advice, and it can work, but you don't understand why. The most important thing about spending time with women, though, is that you're not nervous around women. Right. So like when you say it's like,
agree with that.
Yeah, you say it's like only 25% of the way there, but I mean, like for a car, one tire is only 25% of the tires on the car, but it's not moving unless all four wheels are there. Right. So being around women and being comfortable around women that's going to be a prerequisite for anything. You can have the smoothest pickup lines in the world, but you know, like if you're like nervous and scared and you can't look somebody in the eye and you're like freaking out, it doesn't really matter if the other 75% is there. So I think being comfortable around women is probably the important like first step. From there, there's like a million things I could say. More specifically, what do you want? Like the difference between...
I want anything. Hit me with whatever you got.
In my personal opinion, the most important quality that you can have in all of life, and it affects dating, relationships, romantic and non-romantic, friendships, business things, or whatever, is usually some level of confidence. By being confident in yourself, by loving and respecting yourself, from that will stem oftentimes positive behaviors that are very attractive towards other people without you even deliberately working on it. Like I think I spent a lot of deliberate internal work, especially I went from being like Catholic to atheist. So there was a lot of like self-reflection there, probably when I was like 16, 17.
Still atheist?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know if I've put that much deliberate work into like being a pickup artist. Like I think most of that just kind of like stems naturally from the general reflections I do on myself and socializing. And then a lot of it just kind of works for relationships as well. So for instance, so we can talk about like negging is very hard to understand for some people. You go up to a woman and you kind of like be mean to her, and sometimes somehow that makes her like you. A blue pillar might say you're being emotionally manipulative to make her reliant on you for validation. A red pillar might say you have to put her in her place so that she has to chase you or whatever.
I love that you know the sides so well.
Yeah, I mean, like different people have like different angles on things. In my opinion, I learned this really early on, and I noticed this is just an observation when talking to women. I know who I am. I've got my friends. I don't know, like desperate for anybody's attention. Mm-hmm. I noticed this a lot when I was working at the casino. I had a job like as working in a cafe. That when
How old are you at this point?
I think 19. Okay, 19,
quite
20.
a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed when I was like talking to women that sometimes a woman would tell me something, would be like, oh, like what's like your favorite band? And she'd be like, Third Eye Blind. And I genuinely like wouldn't like, I probably shouldn't say it because I probably did like Third Eye Blind when I was a teenager, but I might say something like, oh, I hate that group. They have like the worst music ever. And I noticed that like when I'd say something like that, the response I would get from the other person was they felt like really excited to argue, and they felt like the conversation got very playful. And in retrospect, I realized for a lot of these things, it was probably the first time a lot of these girls have ever had a guy their age like fight them on a point. Because I think they're used to guys just kind of like being really clingy and really simpy. And it's like, that's my favorite band too. That's my favorite movie too. I like all the things you like. Please love me and accept me, So being willing to have like a backbone and kind of like play with people, I think was a really important part of like these, I don't know, you call them boy-girl dynamics or whatever.
Attraction dynamics.
But that's something that just stemmed from my self-confidence. Like if I disagree with you about something, then I'll say it and we'll fight about it. I won't be personal about it. But that's how I would explain like that type of interaction. People on the left will say like, oh, you're just being an asshole. It's like, not really. I'm never really being an asshole to somebody. Like it's very rare that like people, there's a claim I get a lot on streaming. Like people say, oh, you neg women all the time. It's like, not really. Like if I'm fighting with somebody, it's over something like a choice in movies or media or something. I'm never going up to him and be like, huh, you look so fat in that dress. Like I'd never fucking say that. And that's not going to work. Like a girl's not going to be like, oh, like let's argue about that. She's just going to fucking hate you, So yeah, I would say being confident. But the reason why I don't do this like dating advice or dating coach stuff is because I don't know how to get to that point. It's an easy thing to say, but it's obviously very difficult for a lot of people to do. But confidence is probably the building block of every single other trait that you're going to develop in life, I think.
Do you feel you have full confidence?
Yeah, I would say so.
No insecurities?
Not really, no.
Not even one?
I mean, I'm sure theoretically.
Or did you have them and you worked through them?
it's since high school, I've said this a lot, I'm very internally driven. Like I usually don't care much what other people say about me. I mean, like, obviously I'm gonna get upset if like people are mischaracterizing my opinions, or if like I've got like anti-fans in my community or whatever. But very rarely will somebody say something to me and now I'm like, have a crisis of conscience where I'm like, oh my God, like maybe I am actually like a horrible person, or maybe blah, blah, blah. Like that just generally doesn't happen much. Yeah.
Do you feel you've grown more confident over the past 3-4 years with the audience that you've built and with the popularity that's grown? Has that
No, I think I've
confidence?
been pretty confident since high school. I think I kind of had to be, because a lot of things I wanted to pursue and do were kind of like absent my parents, like especially by 16. I'm pretty sure by 16 my dad and mom had moved out, so I'm not like doing concerts like waiting for my mom and dad to be in the audience like cheering me on, or I'm not like doing things for the approval of parents or family or professors or anything. So I think I've always just kind of been like pretty internally driven, and then that's just carried over to like my streaming world too.
Let me try a new word: self-esteem. Has your self-esteem grown from what you've created online in the past 5 years?
I've always said pretty. I would consider these things like one and the same. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think for most people, this is how I would say, if your self-esteem is growing or your confidence is growing because of like audience reaction, what you're actually doing is you're being held hostage by the audience. I always tell this to a new person that comes on stream. Sometimes somebody will come on stream and they'll start liking me. They're like, oh, these people like really like me. And I always say, that shouldn't matter, because today they might like you and tomorrow they might hate you. And it's going to fuck with your head a lot if you're relying on them for your validation. So generally, like, my community likes me, but probably for the next week, I'm about to go through an arc where I fight them all on this stupid like YouTuber react content shit where they're all fucking wrong, and I know they're wrong, but like a lot of them are going to fucking hate me for it. But it's like, whatever. There's probably going to be like 10 threads on my subreddit. There's probably threads right now about some tweets I made where people are like, oh, fuck Destiny, he's so fucking wrong on this spot. But it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, my phone's over there. But I saw you tweeted that you think most YouTubers are terrible.
That was a week ago. Oh, yeah.
Most YouTubers are terrible, and you only like less than 10 of them.
I think in this world, I think the public pressure just drives people in very interesting ways that a lot of people individually aren't tested on. Do you ever get the it sounds kind of mean, but like there's a phenomenon, I'm not justifying anything, I'm just explaining everything. No normative loading, okay? There's a phenomenon where guys that are very regular guys would have to try really, really hard to like find girls to like cheat on their wife or significant other with, who will like these other guys. It'd be like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old guy gets mega famous, and then he cheats on his girlfriend, and the guy's like, I can't believe you did. I've never fucking did that in my life. What a horrible thing. And it's like, bro, you have no idea what you would do if you were 21 years old and there's a million women throwing themselves at you. Like, how are you even going to begin to judge that? I think that people that get famous get tested in a lot of different ways that ordinary people don't. And I think that compounding factor makes online relationships very, very, very difficult. For instance, like, it's probably normal that friends shit talk other friends behind their back. It probably happens to most people, where a friend will say something that is kind of mean about one friend to another friend in a different setting. And in real life, that's not that big a deal unless somebody's really bad about it. Like, it just happens. But online, 1 or 2 instances of that can be like the most dramatic thing ever, right? Rather than John going over to David's house and talking a little bit of shit at a party, now John is on a live stream in front of 200,000 people talking shit about another guy. And now that blows up. Communities get involved. Feelings get hurt. Everybody hates each other. Yeah. So I think the online world just like selects for really crazy people, and then it tries them in very challenging ways. And then everybody ends up being like a horrible person because of it.
Do you feel like you're in the middle of that? With your online presence.
What do you mean? What is it?
No, I'm saying with your online presence.
Of course. Yeah. I'm surrounded by all these people. Some of it by choice too, but yeah.
Okay. Are you friends with a lot of the red pill characters?
I think I just recently axed out the last 2, so probably not. I'd say like roughly
axed out the last 2.
Like people that I was kind of friends with, but it's just like too much. Yeah.
Can you name?
Yeah. The one guy is John Zerka, who kind of, I don't want to say he came up through my stream. That's not really fair, but he's a guy that I've kind of like helped and kind of like supported or vouched for, I think, over the past few years. But like, he's had a recent blow up recently, but he's just like, he's unhinged. He's super big like cokehead.
Is that the guy who has the sunglasses on
and the robe?
Big strong dude.
I wouldn't say big strong. He's tall.
Okay. I might be thinking of someone else.
No, you're thinking of the right guy. He wears like a robe everywhere now, and he's got sunglasses. Or
maybe
he talks like this. Fucking John Zerka. John Zerka's Zerka official. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. Yeah, but he he's just unhinged on social media now. I think I blocked him, I think a week ago, and I think he's been tweeting about me nonstop. If I go check right now
on what?
On Twitter. just too much.
So you blocked him so he couldn't look at your stuff anymore.
Well, because I was just tired of watching him shit on me, shit on my wife, like just going off. Like, constantly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you do get tired of that.
Yeah, I don't like if people, especially people are going to attack people around me.
Because there's a lot of hate on you on the internet.
Yeah, which most of it is like, I understand it. But if we're supposed to be like colleagues or friends and like, fuck you, I'm going to hold you to a different standard, right? Like there are going to be some people that I'll associate with. Like,
going too far.
It's not going too far. It's like, what is our relationship? Like there are people that I would talk to that probably super disagree with me or like hate me or whatever, but like we're enemies, so I'll talk to you. But if we're supposed to be like friends or colleagues or whatever and you're doing it, then yeah, fuck you, I don't want to associate with you.
Okay. Who do you like the least in this manosphere community?
What do I like probably Andrew Tate.
I could have guessed that.
He blocked me on Twitter. Fuck
funny.
him.
I like forget about him in this community just because he's dealing with other topics at this point.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway. Okay. Who do you like the most?
We disagree on everything so much. And I might even say this guy is contributing evil to the world. But honestly, like, I think Myron, I don't remember his real name, but Myron from Fresh and Fit. Okay. I have a lot of respect for him as a person, even if I completely disagree with everything he says. He's super driven, very focused, very hardworking, very respectful of people that he considers friends, very sensitive to people that unfriend him, that like burn bridges with him. But yeah, he seems to have a high level of mutual respect for people that he works with, sometimes even to his detriment. So I respect that a lot in him, and I respect him as a colleague or coworker or whatever, I guess, even if we disagree on like everything in life. Yeah. Like
you said, one of your principles, just because you might disagree with someone doesn't mean you need to demonize them.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys like chat as friends off?
Not much. No.
Air and off social media? No.
It might be interesting too, but no, I don't even know if we would. I don't know if I would help him out of principle for anything, but I have a lot of respect for him as a person. He's like yeah.
How do you mean by that? That you wouldn't help him out of principle?
Well, fuck, I don't know if if I feel like his message is like so much contrary to mine, I don't know if
you want to support that. Like you don't support that.
But I mean, I would expect the same for him. I wouldn't expect him to be like, connect me with these people so that I can go blue pill. Because technically every time we're arguing with each other on one of our shows, we're like fighting for each other's audience in a way, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to get them over to
basically,
the other side. Yeah. Interesting. How would you define, new topic, how would you define a healthy relationship? We'll say romantic relationship versus friendship.
I think a healthy relationship is one in which both people are generally, in terms of time, generally happy, aren't having to constantly second guess themselves that they're getting like mind fucked by a partner, feel like they're being heard and seen with all of their like problems, somebody who your partner can like celebrate successes with you, and then somebody who has a partner that's like adding value to their life in some way. And that value doesn't have to be like monetary. It could just be like somebody that you enjoy spending time with, somebody that you enjoy doing activities with, somebody that you love and you like spending time with. Yeah.
What's your wife's name again?
Melina.
Melina.
Yeah.
How does Melina?
I thought that was like a trick question.
All trick questions today.
Yeah, Melina, right? Yeah.
How does she add value to your life? And how do you add value to hers?
The second question might be harder. In terms of adding value to my life, it's really fun to be around her. She's like driven me to be more active, like physically, which is good. I like there are probably like movies or physical activities that I might not do as much if she wasn't around. So things like we went like rock climbing with friends. I know we did like a shooting trip for a weekend in like Alabama or Georgia or something. Fuck, I don't remember. Louisiana, I think. She got me to actually get like professional pictures done, like flying up to New York with like a photographer and stuff. So I have real pictures instead of the crazy, horrible ones that show up all the time on the internet. She's like, at times, as long as we're not fighting, like I can bounce things off of her emotionally. And she's got like a very different perspective on the world, which is interesting to see. I've definitely traveled a lot more because of her. Like I've gone to places with her in other countries that I probably wouldn't have gone to on my own. Watching her grow her internet stuff has been really cool. Like she's like, I think 5 years ago, I don't even know, she barely had internet. Like she traveled in a van in New Zealand and now she's like managing multiple platforms, multiple employees, like multiple sponsorships and everything. So from like a monetary business point of view, it's like cool watching her grow that way. We can probably buy a house or something together.
What is her platform online? Like, what does she do?
She does like online content creation, similar to me. She does. So her big platforms are like Twitch, and she does Fansly. She's probably doing okay on TikTok and growing a YouTube as well. So just like all the normal.
What is she talking about?
I think broadly speaking for her, it's just like IRL, so in real life. So it's like traveling, chatting with our audience, like stuff like that.
Influencer kind of stuff.
Basically,
Look at
yeah.
my life. This is what I'm doing.
Kind of, yeah. And then just talking to our audience about things. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you add value to her life?
Um,
You said earlier that's going to be a hard question to answer.
yeah, because I'm a very independent person, and
But there is an answer, or else she wouldn't be with you.
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Right. Why else are we with people? They add some sort of value.
True. I think
Unless they're being like completely manipulated in some way.
True.
But even there's probably
I mean, there's a big age
value.
gap, so maybe I am.
How old is she?
24.
24. Okay.
Yeah. How do I add value in her life? I mean, hopefully she enjoys hanging around me. Hopefully she loves me and she likes spending time with me that way. We watch movies. I introduce her to things she might not have seen otherwise. Hopefully business wise, I've been somewhat of a help. Like I connected her with some employees. I helped push her to do some types of online content. Although she's largely like taking care of a lot of that on her own. Yeah.
How did you guys start the conversation of open relationship? Was that right from the beginning? Because I mean, you're married. You don't have a ring on. You don't do the ring?
We will eventually. I just need to fucking find one. Initially, we were both not wedding people. We just didn't care that much. But she is a Swedish citizen, so we have to get married so she can get a green card. But now I think it would be nice to do like a ceremony and have like a ring and everything. We just like haven't done it yet. She's like traveling right now. I'm working right now, but we'll probably do it eventually. Okay. Stop being lazy.
Okay. So then how did the open relationship conversation come into this?
She's always done very open relationships. And after my last relationship, I realized that I don't think I could ever like just commit sexually to one person for the rest of my life. It seems like impossible for me to do. So initially I was going to be single forever. I wrote a post on my subreddit saying like, for me personally, I'm swearing off our relationships. If you see me getting into a relationship, call me an idiot. But then when I ran into Melina, she's like, oh, I only do open relationships. And I hadn't really thought that much about that concept at the time. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. Let's try it. Sure.
Okay. And the internet's very loud on your personal choice of having an open relationship. People just love calling you a cuck.
Yeah, that's like it's a new thing. Cuck hunting has become like an obsession, I think, with red pillars over the past 2 years. I think a lot of it is like a projection of insecurity around women, worrying that women have been with better guys, worried that women have got a higher body count, worried that women have been with bigger dicks. And I think that they take that projection and I think they hardcore see it like everywhere. Like people call you a cuck if the woman you're dating has like fucked more guys than you, or has been with like a black guy, or looks at another guy, or yeah, it's just so the obsession with like, or like with Adam 22 recently, like he's a cuck now because his wife like fucked a guy and they're like both porn stars. I'm like, what the fuck? So funnily enough, like 3 years ago and earlier, I'd never been called a cuck. There are a lot of people that are like, open relationships are kind of weird. I don't understand it. But like, why would you call someone in an open relationship a cuck? That's a very new phenomenon over the past 2 years with the red pill stuff, with a lot of like the cuck hunting obsession. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I understand why there might be some people who are super religious because they have a very specific way that they want to live life and they want to also spread that message. So they might be really intense at saying like, no, this person's a cuck and whatever. But the people who are not religious, I don't understand why you would go out of your way to leave a comment and bully.
The problem is that
what is that?
You have an underlying view of the world and other types of people can challenge that view. And that creates an incongruency that has to be reconciled one of two ways. So if you're a red pillar and you see a guy, that guy has to align with you in 99% of ways. So he wants a low body count virgin. The idea of his girl like fucking somebody else, that's impossible because that would destroy you. It's the worst thing ever as a man. And that has to be true. And if you find another guy and that doesn't seem to be true, a massive incongruency has been created, a big dissonance in your head. And you can resolve it in one of three ways, really. One way is you say, fuck, okay, maybe I'm just like ultra super insecure if I can't even fathom that he's like living that lifestyle. Or two, the most common one is that guy's massively coping and he's actually a cuck and he knows it and he's just like limited by his options and he's lying about being okay with it. And then the third one would be like a worldview shift, which is really difficult to do. So most people opt for two in terms of saying that guy's like coping or whatever.
Interesting. Okay, so, it begs the question too. Does it ever have any emotional effect, even a little bit, thinking of Melina being with another man?
For me, no, but I understand like I'm a big outlier there. Like I said, I'm very independent. I like the ability to pursue my things, and I like to work on my stuff. Like I can do work and everything too. The way that I tend to view relationships, I just recently realized this. Everything I'm saying here, I understand is like incredibly unique. I'm not like saying everybody should feel this way or everybody should do this, because I know a lot of people get triggered whenever I describe like my view on things for this. The thing that usually makes me jealous is if I lose access to somebody. So if there's like a girl that I'm like casually seeing, even on the side, and she's like, "Oh, I got a boyfriend," like I might feel a little bit bad because like, "Oh fuck, like I can't." That means I can't probably see you in certain ways anymore. But as long as I can like see somebody the ways that I want to, I don't really care what else they do in their free time. Like that doesn't affect me much. So Melina's like fucking some other dude. Now, if she was like, "Well, I can't be with you anymore," then I'd be like, "Oh, well, fuck, that sucks." But as long as like when they're with me, they're with me. And if they want to hang out with other people, that's fine. It doesn't bother me as much.
It's almost as if I'm talking to like a half robot and there's like barely any emotions in there. You're telling me if a Melina left you, you'd be like, "Oh, fuck. All right, well, next."
Well, I'm saying that would suck. That was the emotional part. Okay. I'm more thinking of me like a child without object permanence. Like if you walk behind the wall, I don't see you anymore. So,
okay. So, I mean, do you go into it? Would you go into a depression? Would it be 2 days of heartbreak and you just get over it? I mean, what would happen if she just like fell in love with someone else? Or the worst things a woman could say: fell in love with someone else, bigger penis, so much more successful. You're a loser. Peace.
I feel like this is probably due to like my position and everything now. So maybe like 15 years ago, that would have sucked a lot. But like, I know who I am. I know the value that I offer to people. I know the strengths that I have, and I know I'm relatively unique. If you find somebody different than me, then I mean, that's on you then I mean, you find somebody different, that's fine. But I don't think I would view myself any differently. Like there are going to be some things that I just like can't compete with. So if she's like, "Oh, like I need a guy with a 12-inch dick," and like my dick is only 10 inches long, right? So I can't compete with that. It'd be like, whatever, I can't change that, right? If somebody's like, "Oh, I want to be the guy that's 6'2", it's like, okay, well, I mean, what am I going to do? I'm not going to feel bad about it. I can't do anything about it. If it's like a personality trait, like somebody's more intelligent or successful, I mean, these are things that I'm like working at. I'll keep working at it. But I guess in my mind, and again, I hate caveating because everybody's going to misquote me anyways. I don't give a fuck. I understand that most people don't think to say. I was going to say that like, if I'm in an open relationship and my partner can sleep with other people and do things and they're still with me at the end of the day, that's more important to me than like being in a monogamous relationship where I'm like, fuck, if you got to like sleep with another dude, if you got to like talk to another guy in a certain way, I think you would leave me immediately. And I'm really glad we're in a monogamous relationship so I can protect that. That's how I view it. But I understand that not everybody has the same view on that.
Yeah, you definitely are an outlier. I would say.
I understand that.
I mean, I admire this solid confidence and extreme self-acceptance that you have. And I try to do those things in my own life. And I also try to preach that as well, to talk to guys and say, "Hey, you know what? There's things that you just can't change. And so you're wasting your time focusing on those things."
Yeah.
It's guys who are under 6 feet or they're of a non-Caucasian race and they're in America and they're trying to attract Caucasian women. "Oh, women don't like this." And it's like, well, we can sit here and talk about this all day, or we can just say, "Can you do anything about it?" "No, I can't. So let's move on."
Yeah. Focus on what you can work on.
Right. Focus on what you can work on. You seem to really embody that idea.
Yeah, hopefully I try to. Yeah.
Do you ever preach that? Like, so as an advice channel, I'm a big should guy, right? I'm shoulding people all the time. You should do this. You should do this. This is what you should do. I even do maybe too much in my personal life with friends or family, whatever. A lot of unsolicited advice. I know you gave a little bit of your, I call them now Destiny's 5 commandments, but
Okay.
do you should people at all? You're like, "Nah, this is how you should be doing it. This is what."
I focus on things. The things that I should people on are, you probably know me for Red Pill stuff, but I'm known for politics. Usually what I'm pushing people on are like things related to thought processes and like critical thinking. That's the big thing. So like your meta thoughts, like how do you evaluate your own thoughts? How do you protect yourself from cognitive biases? It's all like political stuff. I don't usually coach people to give a lot of like personal advice because for me, like I said, a lot of it just kind of flows naturally from that self-confidence thing. So a lot of the things that I'm going to say are going to be like, they're probably going to come off as like relatively empty platitudes to people. So like, for instance, here's something that I would say that's really important, right? Don't worry about what you can't fix and work on what you can fix. And that's vital for me. But that comment, that statement it sits on top of a lot of assumptions. Okay. So it's easy for me to say, because the things that I do have make me pretty attracted to women and make me pretty successful in the world. But what if you've got a guy who's not attracted to women and who isn't successful? That it's like the equivalent of a guy, it's like the equivalent of like a Giga Chad guy talking kind of like a nerdy dude. And he's like, you
just gotta go
be
up
yourself.
and talk to her.
Yeah, be yourself, dude.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Go up to her, talk to her, be yourself. And it's like, that's not enough for some people because themselves suck. So yeah, a lot of the advice that I give or a lot of things that work for me are kind of these they're like second or third order things that stem from that place of like really good self-confidence, really good people social skills, really good listening and understanding, really good conversational skills. Like I have that. So then from there, it's very easy for me to be like, it's like the equivalent of somebody like me saying like, I don't do gambling sponsorships. And it's like, okay, but you make so much money, like good for you, I guess, but it'd be a lot harder. And I don't know if I'd have the same stance if I had like 100 viewers and I'm making like $1,500 a month, would I still be like, I don't take gambling sponsorships?
Right.
You know? Yeah. So I try not to, from my position, especially because like socially I'm pretty well adjusted and everything, to say things like, oh, just be yourself, guys. Like just be confident and don't worry about the things that you can't fix. And like some guy has like acid scars from a terrorist attack and like a peg leg and he's like a mute. And it's like, well, thanks, dude. Like, let me go learn fucking sign language. Like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is the whole idea of telling people to just be yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
I preach is the worst advice. If someone's trying to get that advice, if you're asking like, how do I meet girls? And someone says, just be yourself. Clearly they've already been doing that.
Yeah. And it's not working. Yeah.
And
even like
working.
The advice for like meet girls, I'll say like the most important thing you can do is go back in time and just have like girls that are friends in high school. And then past that, it gets way harder because the next piece of advice I have is you have to put yourself in scenarios where there are other women so you can get accustomed to like socializing and talking with them. But man, out of college, that's really fucking hard. If I wasn't a streamer, I don't know how I would do it. Like I meet girls on Tinder sometimes, but like I don't think I could go to a bar or a fucking club or like a painting class. I think I would kill myself. I don't know if I could actually handle these things.
So I literally experienced that. So
Okay.
I went to University of Illinois, 40,000 students there. I was in a fraternity, so I had just social life built in. By the way, it didn't make me very good with women still, but I had social life built in, so opportunities were there.
Yeah.
Then I leave and graduate. I moved to LA, which I consider and probably still consider like the Harvard of dating, meaning one of the hardest places that you can try to meet women. I'm 22. I don't really have a lot of confidence. I don't have a lot of self-esteem. I don't have anything that I've built or I've done. And now I'm in a place where it's so hard to meet women. So I did the thing that you just said that you would never do. I forced myself without alcohol to go out and talk to women at bars and clubs, sometimes 4 to 6 to 7 nights a week, just so I could put myself in front of women and try to get better at it. So I was the student of pickup because that was the dating advice in 2007 and 2006, where I was like, okay, how do you meet girls? And that taught me a lot of really extreme shit, like the neg that you were, referring to earlier. And I even tried that. It didn't work. I like said a neg one time to a girl at a bar. I was like, it's so cringy. Like I can't even say it, but I just will. I was like, she was tall, and I'm a fairly tall guy ish. She was taller than me. And I go, man, you're tall. You're like Big Bird. We were having the greatest conversation. And in 5 minutes after I say that, her face drops and she goes, what the fuck? And walks away. And I go, oh my God.
A way that you can hit on that's kind of funny that I've learned, especially because I'm 5'8", is if you ask a girl, another way to get at that is like, so did you play basketball or volleyball in high school? Because every fucking tall girl I've ever talked to has played either basketball or volleyball. You can usually bridge that into another conversation, but the Big Bird comment, that's
so
you're hitting on a lot of weird things there.
So well. So that was one of the many moments where I was like, maybe this pickup stuff isn't really working. So then I just threw out all of these concepts and things that I read because I was like downloading torrents and reading and watching all this stuff. And I was like, I think I just need to go out and talk to women and just do that part first.
I'm so curious because I've wanted to do this, but I've been lazy. When you go to a bar to talk to somebody, are they just like, is it just a girl sitting at a table waiting for somebody to talk to her? Or like, what is that experience like? I'm so curious.
Yeah. So most of the time it's going to be a girl with her girlfriends.
Yeah.
If you're at a club, It's going to be a girl.
I don't care. I'm never going to a club. Try the bar. Let's do the bar.
Okay. If you're at a bar, well, I'm telling you the experience, right?
Sure. Yeah. I'm just curious.
At a bar, it's going to be similar to a club. She's going to be with her friends, but at a bar, if it's a little bit more low key, she might be with like one friend.
Okay.
She's definitely not going to be alone. So you're just going to be going up and you're going to be starting a conversation with the group. The advice that I give as a dating coach is now don't go up to the whole group, but you go up to the girl that you're interested. You start conversation with her, and then you start to bring in the other women, or if they're with guys or whoever, in as needed. But if you go into a group and you start a conversation with, let's say, 5 people, that's a very difficult conversation to maintain. And that doesn't really add to that doesn't get you closer to your goal, which is you're really trying to talk to that one girl that you're interested in.
Okay.
So it takes a lot of balls.
I got so many random questions. Okay. Number one.
Yeah.
If a girl is at a bar, do you think they're generally expecting to get approached? Is that like the goal?
Most of the time, yes.
Okay. Most of the time, yes.
Or if they're single, yes.
Well, that was getting my question. Are they generally single? Or have you ever been talking to a girl and you actually kick it off like pretty well, and like an hour in, she's like, it's been fun chatting, like my boyfriend's here to pick me up, and then she just like
that is more common if you do daytime approaches, so outside of the bar or club.
Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. You'll get a lot of married, a boyfriend in the club, in the bar. I'd say most times they don't, or they're lying to you.
Sure. Well, that's fine. If they're lying to you, that means you're in, right?
Exactly. But of course there are women who go to bars and clubs who have boyfriends, but it is a great spot to have more options with single women.
And the third one, I'm curious, what does your cold open look like? Are you like telling a knock knock joke, or like what is your cold open where you see like, obviously not that, but like you see like 3 girls or 2 girls sitting down? That's
gonna be my next video on YouTube. How to pick up a girl with a knock knock joke. No, it's really as simple as hi. Hey, 2 seconds. I wanted to come and meet you.
Gotcha.
You can literally use that to meet any woman, anytime, anywhere.
Okay.
Hey, 2 seconds. I wanted to come over and meet you.
Gotcha.
It's funny. All this pickup shit that I learned back in 2007, I never saw that once. It was always some sort of line or opinion openers and things like that. And they work because people did them and they got results from them. But personally, when I would try to go out and use it, I mean, I felt like I was being an actor and I had to keep up this thing. And I was too worried about like, well, what if they've heard it before? Memorizing the pickup lines got me way too in my head. And then I realized, oh, you can just go up and start conversation and you can get results. I mean, it's not just like you go up there and you have, hey, what's going on? I wanted to come meet you. And then like you have this really boring conversation. More has to come after that. Like you were saying earlier, like teasing a girl, having fun with her, giving her a little bit of shit, having an entertaining and fun conversation. But as far as opening up, you can literally say whatever you want. Fuck it. If you want to say a pickup line, go ahead. 9 times out of 10, the woman's not even going to remember what you said unless she rejects you right off the bat.
Sure. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to try like the bar thing before. I hate bars. I hate alcohol. But I've just to have the experience would be fun so that I could talk about it more on stream, because generally I'm usually meeting people in other ways. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of guys. We coach a lot of guys who are over 30. And a lot of those guys don't want to go to bars. Right. So they say to me, yeah, I don't want to go to clubs and bars to meet women. I even get a lot of DMs asking like, where else can I meet women? And that's fine. There's plenty of other places. You can go out during the day and you can go to popular places where people are walking around and you can approach women there. You can also do it a little bit in your hobbies if you want to, you know, if you're part of a hiking group or a rock climbing group or salsa dancing or whatever. The thing is, though, I try to open up guys to try to do bars. Maybe if you're 35, you're not going to this intense club or whatever, but yeah, go to bars because there's going to be a lot of volume there. So even if that's not going to be your wife, you're going to be having a lot of practice, because if I go out during the day and I try to meet some women, I don't know, there might be 10 women I can talk to. If I go to a club, there's going to be like 20 women I can get into a conversation with.
If you strike out with a woman at a bar, do you try with somebody else or do you just leave?
No, you keep trying.
Okay.
Keep trying.
Gotcha.
Right. So like you were saying earlier, you have to try to, it would be best for your life if you went through, it would be best if you went through life without looking for external validation. So if you can go to a bar and you can embody that. It's like, okay, this girl rejects you, whatever. Let's go talk to someone else.
I do agree with that. I think that I noticed that when I was in college, that getting shot down by a girl or two was really good for the mind. Because I think a lot of people have very catastrophic ideas. Like people will treat getting rejected by a girl like a fucking divorce, where it's like the worst thing. Where it's like, bro,
even worse, like death.
Yeah, like if one girl shoots you down, it's fine. You don't even have you barely have a relationship with this person. Like, why do you care so much? And having that experience of getting shot down, just so that you can experience it, go through it. It's like, oh, it's not a big deal, whatever. Then you move on to the next thing. I think is really important because people build that up in their head way too much. Now, I say that as somebody that doesn't or didn't even really get shot down that much. So to be sensitive, if you get shot down like 20 times in a row, maybe after a while that experience starts to fuck with your head. But
it does. But
the people that are like so afraid of getting shot down, you're like, well, how many approaches have you made? And they're like, one in grade school, and she put glue in my hair. It's like, okay, bro, you have to put yourself out there at least a little bit, yeah,
right?
Because you're hyping it up way too much in your head, yeah.
Yeah, I have this theory that I've come up with of why men are afraid of rejection so much. There's lots of theories out there. This is not the only one, but I think this is one that adds to it.
Okay.
If you're a guy who's scared of getting rejected, you probably have low self-esteem. So that means that if you go and you approach a girl and you get rejected, subconsciously you're thinking that they're confirming the piece of shit that you think you are. And you don't want to go through an experience where you go, oh yeah, that's right, I do suck, for whatever reasons that you've made up in your head.
For sure.
Okay, so, but I also have seen in practice, when I get guys, when the guys who join the coaching program that I have here, and we push them and force them to go out and approach women, and then they get rejected, they always actually come off of it feeling better about themselves because they're like, they almost don't care about the rejection. They're like, oh, wow, I just did it. So I try to, and I even do this on YouTube and through my social media, is just encourage guys to do it, because you're thinking it's going to be worse than it is, when really you're going to be so excited and so happy that you did it because you did a hard thing. And when we do things that are hard, we end up feeling better about ourselves, even if we didn't do so well, so to speak.
Yeah. And you've also dispelled the illusion that it's going to be like the end of the world. Like the worst thing is not really that bad generally. Yeah.
Right.
And because the worst thing is something I learned early in my life. Inaction is an action. And oftentimes it's the worst decision. Like if you can make two decisions, a good one and a bad one, there's usually a hidden third decision that's the worst, and that's trying to remain undecided. So the worst is if you've got a girl that you're too afraid to ask, and you've like been friends with her for like 4 or 5, 6 years. And instead of, you could have solved it very quickly by like asking a question and moving on, but then you like mind fuck yourself into some infinite like friend zone loop or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're in big trouble because most of the time, if you're 4 to 5 years in the friend zone, that's it. You're pretty much dead in the water there.
Yeah.
But I'm curious for you though, because we're talking a little bit about failures and taking action to move your life along. So what failures have you had in the past, let's say 6 years?
I don't fail ever.
Ever?
What failures have I had?
I guess it's probably because of how you define it.
Yeah. No, they're just learning opportunities, I guess. There have been debates that I haven't done as well at, that I wish I would have done better. There are lessons that I wish I could learn from other people that I seem to learn best through experience. So obviously getting banned from major platforms is never a good thing. I probably wish I wasn't banned from Twitch.
You're banned from Twitch?
Yeah, permanently.
When did that happen?
I think 1.5 years ago.
So what's the live chat that comes up when you're doing your lives now when you're gaming?
It's from another site I stream on called Cuck right now. And then I've got my own website at destiny.gg. So,
okay. So what else? So yeah, how did that feel?
Well, not good, because I've been streaming there for like 12 years. Yeah.
Why did you get kicked off? What did they say?
I think it was for hate speech, because I was fighting with a bunch of trans people on Twitter and I said they were subhuman. But I think they interpreted that as like me saying all trans people are subhuman, I guess, which is.
Well, you were saying those specific people.
Yeah, they're like
subhuman?
Activists on Twitter. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
What other? So would you consider that a failure?
There are no real failures as long as you don't die or become like maimed. Like you can always like learn from experiences, but it would be nice to experience some things and then go back to the past and then do things a little bit differently. Like I could probably
regrets.
What?
Regrets.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on your perspective. Like you've heard of the phrase like the master has failed more times than the apprentice has even attempted.
Yes.
Yeah. Like does the master regret like every failure? kinda, but like you usually learn something through your failures, right? Like every OSHA regulation is written in blood because somebody probably fucked up at some point and now they're like, stand at least 10 feet back from this lathe or don't go under ladders or whatever. So yeah, I feel the same. Like I've had a bunch of like mistakes I've made in my life, both personally and professionally. It would have been nice if I had like somehow absorbed this knowledge through the universe beforehand. But I make the mistake, I learn a little bit, I change my approach, and then I continue moving on. And sometimes it's good to have made the mistakes because then you can advise people otherwise. I know a lot, even advice that I don't apply necessarily to my life, but I can at least tell other people like what you should be doing sometimes. So yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of that just comes from the experience of making the mistake. So yeah.
Okay. So at this point, do you have a goal in mind for Destiny, the brand, so to speak? Is there somewhere where is there something you're trying to complete or reach?
So next year I want to be more politically active as the campaign season picks up.
Right. So speak a bit about that. Like what exactly?
We've done a bunch of like canvassing events on and off, like where I basically put a call out to my audience and then we do canvassing.
So you want to like become mayor of Miami?
No. Helping other people. I don't do political jobs. But I think next year, like a few years ago, we kind of pioneered this project of doing like kind of this long-term campaigning operation in my hometown, my city of Omaha. And we're probably going to emulate that across like 6 or 7 different cities, I think next year, where we're going to have 6 or 7 different Airbnbs rented out for maybe 3 to 6 months. But we've got different people staffed there that are doing long-term canvassing and helping us like have a base of operations for doing like actual canvassing for politicians, where I'll bring like a bunch of fans out for a weekend. This is something we've kind of got rolling in the background. Yeah. And then I keep saying this, I want to start a media company and I want to start it with a podcast that I'm doing, but there's just like an unbelievable amount of like stupid stuff that's always happening. That's like pushing this off a little bit more and more.
Why? What's happening?
I can't really say. It's just a bunch of dumb, stupid shit that's always happening. But
that's like what, getting in the way of your timeline?
We'll say that. Yeah. But there's like I'm probably on the 19th, I think, of August, I'm going down to, LA again to shoot a Jubilee episode, and I've got a meeting with a guy there about like this type of stuff. So it's always like rolling a little bit in the background. But one thing I've noticed, it's probably like a business error in my life, is that people are usually like CEOs or workers. Like you generally don't do management and working at the same time for a variety of reasons. For a small business, it usually doesn't work out that way. But I work a lot, and I'm also trying to like manage everything a lot. And sometimes like the streaming gets in the way of like other stuff I could or should be doing. So yeah. But it's fun. I enjoy the streaming, and it's like important for my business and everything too. So
yeah, I don't understand how you play a video game and at the same time you're talking to people. And
I think it just depends on the conversation.
And debating.
Yeah, it just depends on the conversation. Usually if you see me doing that, it's because I've had that same talk a ton. So I usually know the talking points by then.
Okay. So at that point, you're just kind of saying words and
basically, yeah.
Okay.
If you watch my streams, as the conversations get harder for me, if you watch the game I'm playing, I'm usually just running around in circles. It's like walking and talking. I'm not actually like hardcore playing a game and hardcore like plugged in cognitively at the same time to the debate I'm having. Yeah.
Is that how you started? Just gaming?
Yeah, that's right. I was a semi-pro, or I guess a professional StarCraft 2 player. Yeah.
Okay. And does that fund you well? Does that make a lot of money doing something like that?
Back then, you made it. You were like the king of the earth if you could pull like a $300 to $600 a month salary. Wow, it was amazing.
Look at that.
Or you'd win like $75 online tournaments. Yeah, that was not the best money, but okay. I was always on the streaming side of things, which paid pretty well. So
when did you start streaming?
2010.
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah.
So do you still have videos up on YouTube from 2010?
Yeah, there are some out there.
So those are your old ones?
Yeah.
Okay, so when did it start to really explode? When did you look at what you were doing and going, oh shit, we're really building an audience here. People are listening to what I'm saying.
I think I've been really lucky in that I haven't really had many of those moments. My growth over time has just been really steady. It hasn't been like I was a nobody for 5 years and then boom, I'm like, oh my God, this huge thing happened. There have been a couple of inflection points, like this red pill stuff has grown me quite a bit. I had a big debate with an online guy called John Tron a while ago, which got me some people. A couple of big debates with people like Lauren Southern, which have like gotten me a lot of views. But more or less, my growth has just been pretty steady over time. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, have you enjoyed that at all? Has that been like, fuck yeah, look what I've done?
Yeah.
Not in terms of the self-esteem confidence conversation we had earlier, but you're like, this is great. Now I can play video games and debate and do whatever the fuck I want. And I'm just bringing in the money.
Yeah,
like,
that's
does
why
money motivate you?
I mean, a little bit. I just don't. I'm always worried that I'm going to get like banned from everything. So I want to make sure I have enough money saved away for me to live the rest of my life without working, which I kind of do. I would just have to move to a cheaper area, and then probably be able to leave my kids some money would be good. If I die or whatever, get assassinated. But yeah, like I think I'm more driven right now by like growing audience and everything rather than just trying to get money. But yeah, there's like a certain amount of money would be nice to have. Yeah.
But you're growing audience.
Yeah, that's probably the big
money.
Well, it's probably more for like clout or influence, right? Like if I could make, let's say I could make like $500,000 a year in front of an audience of 100,000 people, or I could make $1 million a year in front of an audience of like 1,000 people. Like I'd opt for the bigger audience every time because that's, I think once you make a certain amount of money, you want the audience and you want the attention and you want the influence, right? That's what you want at the end of the day.
Okay.
Like you want to feel like what you say matters and is influencing other people's thoughts and stuff. So.
And so you want to have as much influence as possible.
Arguably, yeah.
Why?
Well, because I feel like I have better things to say than other people online. So I want people to listen to me instead of them, right?
As many debaters
That's how we all
might
feel,
say.
yeah.
Okay. So it seems like you sock things away just in case another banishment comes. So what's the most expensive thing you purchased for yourself in the past 5 years? Do you ever treat yourself?
Yes. I have a beautiful car, a Ford Focus RS.
Oh,
okay?
what a beaut.
Stop. Ford Focus RS, not a Ford Focus. Okay. Not the family car. It's a hot hatch is what they're called. Okay.
Even better.
Thank you.
Okay.
My $40,000 car. I love it very dearly. Otherwise, the most money I spend is probably going to be rent on my apartment and probably like flying out and traveling to do events and podcasts and stuff.
Did you come here first class?
No.
Bro, treat yourself.
It's like a 2.5 hour flight.
Still.
I did do first class to and from LA though, because I realized that if I first class on a red eye and I sleep on the plane, when I get home, I don't have to sleep and I can stream. And that worked out really well a few days ago. So
how many people recognize you when you get on the plane?
It can be quite a few. It just depends on where I'm at or what's going on. Yeah. Especially with the blue hair.
Is it annoying?
No, it's fun. It's super flattering. Yeah.
Okay. Do people like want to sit and talk with you? And
sometimes, usually just want like a picture or to say hi for a sec. Yeah.
Okay. Any people that hate you that run into you? Like Destiny, fucking hates you.
Never. Usually haters online, just like they like to get a rise out of people. Like I've had people come up to me and it's like, bro, I told you to kill yourself like 20 times and you blocked me on Twitter. What's up? Like that's usually what people are like. I haven't had anybody try to kill me in real life or anything yet. So yeah.
Okay. Do you actually fear like that could happen? Is that like an actual fear? Because you said that earlier, like, oh, assassination.
It depends on the event, but it's like very low, like less than like 3% right now, I think. It just like grows and shrinks depending on what's going on in my life.
Okay. It's interesting because I hear you say that. And I know there's a lot of other red pill people. I would be more frightened for those people than I would for you.
I don't think anybody likes them. I think
a lot of other kinds of, there's a lot of love, but there's also devotion, but there's also a lot of hate for
red pill people.
Names, but the other
but
people.
I don't think like left-leaning people are going to like kill anybody. So I'm usually more concerned about like Nazis and shit or certain religious people. So like there have been some very far right-wing events I've gone to that have made me a little bit nervous.
Sure.
There was a period, I think a few months ago, where I was fighting with basically all of Islam on Twitter. Probably wouldn't have flown to London or Paris that week, but I feel okay in the United States. I feel like the worst thing would ever happen for like red pillars that hate me is somebody I would try to like beat me up in real life. I don't think they'd like kill me though. But I think the political stuff usually drives more vitriol than the online dating stuff. Like I think if a red pill is telling me in real life, the worst thing you'd say is like, you're a fucking cuck, fuck you. I'm gonna go fuck your wife. It's like, okay.
Okay. What do you think is going to be the next evolution, or have you thought about the next evolution after red pill? Because I see it as, there was some interesting pickup artists from like the late 80s and 90s who taught like hypnotism. And then it went into the mystery style, actual like PUA thing. Now this is transformed into this red pill. So we just keep seeing this evolution. It's not going to change. It's going to evolve into something else. Do you see it going anywhere? Have you thought about that?
I don't know where it'll go, but I don't think the current thing is sustainable because I don't think any of it works. I don't think that any of it is real. Like PUA stuff can work with some people. Red pill stuff is not.
What red pill stuff would you say doesn't work?
Like one-ended open relationships. Nobody's doing this. Even popular people generally don't do this. It's exceptionally
where the guy
rare. The guy can sleep around and fuck around and the girl can't. Yeah, that's unbelievably rare. And there's probably a lot of weird things.
It happens. I'll take people's word for it.
I mean, it happens. Some guys have 2 dicks. It happens.
Sure.
But like, that's not a goal in life. Even most celebrities can't get away with that. They might cheat, but like, it's always like a scandal and it's bad and they get like broken up over it. But like, even like celebrities can be like, I'm going to go and fuck 10 bitches and you're going to be okay with it. You better stay home tonight. So like, that's like a delusional goal, I think. I feel like most of the red pill advice is very contradictory. Like, you need to find a virgin who respects you for who you are, and loves you and adds value to your life. And in the meantime, you need to fuck 50 women by the time you're 35, as many hoes as possible. Only go for girls that are valuing for you for your looks, money, success. And it's like all of these things like fly in the face of each other. I think there's a lot of contradiction in there.
I've seen that red pill. It seems to have magnified some concepts.
Yeah.
Where, I've always known, it's not going to be very attractive if I meet a girl and she says she's slept with a lot of guys, right? Like, I've always thought that. That's been something that I've, just like, okay, yeah. And I know friends and guys and people I've talked to online, whatever, generally speaking, men aren't really attracted to a woman who slept with a lot of guys. That's just like a thing that's already been there. But now it seems to have magnified, where now what's scary is, okay, so if these young guys are watching, or really any guy who's watching the red pill stuff, and then they hear, you should be with a virgin. It's like, oh yeah. I've already not liked a girl who slept with a lot of guys, but yeah, that's what I want. I want the virgin. And I always say, listen, that's fine. You can have whatever you want, but we're in 2023. And so the reality is you're probably not going to find that. But then that goes to where guys would say, well, yeah, of course. Yeah, you won't find that. That's why I'm a passport bro. And then they go into that whole thing. But still, if you're a guy who's an average dude who wants to find a relationship, you're going to meet a girl who slept with a couple of guys. Okay, maybe not 50, but it might be like 5 or 10. Is that really that big of a deal when you found an amazing woman?
Yeah.
Versus you have all these guys who are like, no, it's got to be 0-1. I don't think they've always believed that.
Yeah, and they don't do it themselves too, right? Like, none of these red pill guys have settled down with a virgin wife and had kids or anything. Like, literally none of them.
What are you saying? Because they're not in relationships?
Yeah, and they're not interested in it. They don't even like that. I don't think they would like most of the women that they purport to be looking for. The virgin that's also really fucking hot and shares other values, whatever. Like, those people don't exist, I don't think.
Like a unicorn.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to walk into a church as a guy who's 35 and you fucked 50 women, like trying to find a conservative tradcon wife. Like, it's never happening, Right. And now they're all on this like really cringy Muslim grift where they're all pretending to be Muslim for whatever fucking reason.
Well, like Sneeko?
Yeah. Well, what day is it? I don't know if he might be another religion now, but no, yeah, like, yeah, just not just him. It's never just him. He's following other people, but like, yeah, the big like mass conversion to like Islam is like super cringe too.
Yeah, no, listen, it's interesting. I've had a lot of my own personal experiences with the red pill, and as they say, like swallowing the red pill and it becoming uncomfortable. So, I didn't look too much to it, let's say 3 years ago, but as I started to read more literature, watch more videos, it's tough. Some things I'm like, all right, I can't wrap my head around it. And other things I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. So for example, even though the red pill isn't like a place where people are giving advice, but things that I guess make sense in terms of female nature and such. But okay, one of the things I can't wrap my head around, and I've been actually trying to, is hypergamy. Like, I'm trying to really understand, like, I know what it means, but I have never seen that. I've never heard of that. I can't imagine that.
Not only can you not imagine it, anecdotally, it's not true. The red pill guys will say it is. Really wealthy guys are not plucking women out of Starbucks. It might happen sometimes for new money people. So if you like are a celebrity, you might go crazy, like fucking a bunch of like random chicks, or whatever. But like generally speaking, like well-respected families, people that come from money, whatever, are not just dating poor women. That's not true. Number one, anecdotally, we just know that that's not true. And number two, statistically, it's not true. If you look at, and I had a big argument with Rollo Tomasi. I don't know if you ever heard of that guy.
Yes, of course.
Very few people have, because he's a fucking loser. And then another guy, a friend of his.
Don't like him. Okay.
Well, no, I didn't say I didn't like him. I just said he's a fucking loser. And then he had a friend with him, Michael Sartain, who is significantly cooler than him, but questionable that he keeps him in his company, but still cooler. But I did a lot of research for this debate that we did and gathering numbers or whatever. what type of guy, I'm curious, is actually, it seems to be from all my research, there's one data point. What type of guy fucks the most women? Do you know what like the single biggest predictive factor is?
Like characteristic?
Yeah. I didn't even expect this going into it when I was like starting to read around on this.
Where did you get this information from?
Research. So like Googling around for studies, finding out like average body count of like guys or partner count for different correlated to different factors and everything.
Okay, what's the answer?
It's just guys that want to fuck. There was like the difference between guys that make like no money and guys that make a lot of money. The difference between lifetime partners is like 9 to 13. Difference in height didn't matter that much. It was like 10 to 12. Difference in, did I say income, height, BMI didn't matter much until you got the morbidly obese. Then it fell to like 7. But like people have all these ideas.
So
about
guys
like,
taking action.
Yeah, guys that take initiative, right? That try to like have sex with people are usually the ones that are doing it. But yeah, it's funny. I get into a big argument. Me and Myron argue on every topic. But like the last time we were on the show, he's like, men's primary strategy in life is to become really successful so that you can like spread your seed and like have a lot of kids or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, look at like who's having children. That's actually the total opposite. It's usually poor people that don't use protection that are having a lot of different children with a lot of different baby mamas and stuff. Wealthy people historically don't have that many children. So like, that's not true, you know? And then the hypergamy thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because going back to the hypergamy thing, when you look like who's matching who, it's generally people who are of the same status. That's just usually how it goes. And that maps onto real life. Like if you're in school, people in school are fucking each other in school. People in college are fucking each other in college. People at workplaces are always fucking each other in workplaces. And people tend to stick to like similar types of activities. If you come from a wealthy neighborhood, you're probably in the same clubs, in the same groups, in the same extracurriculars. And that's how you meet people. It's pretty rare that like rich people just go to poor neighborhoods to like pluck out the women. Like, I guess it'll happen every now and then, but overwhelmingly we tend to like stick to our own racially, socioeconomically, and geographically.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, is again, with a magnification of when I look at male and female nature, you know, okay. And you say that there's a Venn diagram where everyone's mostly the same. With the red pill, they take it to a place where the reason why it's dangerous is because they magnify it to a place where it almost would turn any guy off from going out there, because they're hearing that
women are horrible. They're trying to baby mama you, trap you.
Right.
They're trying to steal all your money. They're hypergamous. They're going to upgrade instantly.
But women do want a guy who is ambitious, who is successful, right? That part of female nature. They do want a guy who might have, who's 6'2", has a 6-pack, 6 figures, all the 6 inches, 666s, right? All that stuff, you know? And so this is where it gets tough is, yeah, I believe women when they say that. And we do hear it. And I hear it all the time, anecdotally, online, like it's everywhere. But women will go for a guy who doesn't necessarily have that. And that woman will still be attractive to the guy. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I do believe in a lot of the principles that are inside of red pill. I do believe that a woman would want to technically be with a guy and date up if they were in a shitty relationship. Yep. But no fucking way you're going to be in a great relation. A woman's going to be in a great relationship with a guy and have kids and everything's going great. Again, we're assuming that the relationship has gone well. The guy's not a loser. He didn't lose his job for many years and they're broke and all these problems are happening. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy who just happens to be better than him because he makes more money or is more attractive. Yeah. And she just, you know, flies away, flews the coop and just goes for a guy like that. Like that is where I think red pill goes a little bit too far.
Yeah. It's that. Have you ever heard him say the alpha fucks, beta bucks or whatever? Yeah. One thing that you brought up that is so fucking important is when you're doing sociological research, there's a difference between desires and behaviors, and they always stop at the desires. So like the average woman wants a guy that's 6 foot plus. Okay, sure. The average guy wants like a 19-year-old supermodel. But like, that's not the choices that people are making in real life. I remember Lauren Southern debated Rollo Tomasi on like some of the OkCupid stats because they love to go back to these.
Yeah, dataclysm.
Yeah. And Rollo would point out like, oh, well, women rate men way more harshly on looks than men rate women. And while that was true, if you looked at who the women were actually talking to, a woman has no problem talking to a guy that she sees as kind of like medium attractive. Whereas for guys, they actually too tend to gravitate towards the more attractive women. And it's very interesting because like, I know this anecdotally that like you can talk to women And I can be having a conversation with a woman, and this happens so many times, where a woman will be like, yeah, I think my partner is like pretty attractive. Oh my God, though, like these guys are like super hot. And it's like, oh, damn, like you think they're like way more attractive. They're like, yeah, these guys are really hot. It's like, would you ever leave your partner for this guy? It's like, no. But like, I just think these guys are really hot. Whereas I think men can be a little bit more visually driven sometimes. So if a guy is saying like another girl is way hotter than his girl, there might be like a risk there of him like upgrading or cheating or whatever. But for women, I think it works a little bit differently. So women are able to, I wouldn't say compartmentalize, but we tend to project onto each other the things that we want. And a guy is like, if I had the chance to, I might upgrade to somebody that looks better than you. And for women, they might see guys that look better than their current partner, but that doesn't necessarily mean they would just upgrade immediately. Like they wouldn't make the desire doesn't necessarily map onto the behavior there.
Right. Now, on the other side, I do believe that when a guy is in a relationship and he's married with a woman, he does have to put in a lot of effort to make sure this relationship goes. Meaning, they have those statistics of 80% of divorces are coming from women, right? And so
kind of.
Well, that is a statistic. Is that just a false statistic?
I think so, yeah.
Well, how could it be? Well, why do we think that?
The numbers are anywhere from 6 to 8% of women initiate divorces. Okay. But I think it's really important that just because somebody initiates a divorce doesn't necessarily mean they're the ones that are ending the relationship. So for instance, I think men tend to cheat more than women. It's like, I've seen different numbers in this, but anywhere from like 23% men to like 13% women in terms of infidelity. And in those cases, the woman is more likely to initiate divorce, but whose fault is that? That's one thing to consider. A second thing to consider too is oftentimes women are driven to initiate the divorce because they've got more to lose by staying married. So especially if there's like a separation and children are present, if the woman wants to qualify for like, WIC or state benefits or whatever like that, she has to get divorced because she's still married to her husband. She can't get any of those benefits.
If she's not the one who initiates it, you're saying?
Yeah, the guy's not going to. Why the fuck would I, especially if I have to pay child support or some shit. If we separate and you got a kid, like, fuck you. I'll be married forever and live in another state. And most women that you date won't even give a fuck. Like, oh yeah, I haven't divorced my wife yet or whatever. But like, some women won't give a fuck about that. But if you're a woman and you're still married to a guy, not only are most guys going to avoid you like the fucking plague because you're still married to another dude, what the fuck? You can't qualify for any benefits if there are kids present or anything because they're going to treat you as a married couple.
So you do then agree with this statistic, but you think it's for different reasons.
Yeah, women initiate more for sure, but I think there's good reasons for it. And oftentimes when that stat is presented, it's like women are just breaking up with men, like just dipshit things, aka just pearly things. We'll say like women initiate divorce because they're bored in their relationship, they just want to leave.
I think that does happen though more than often. Maybe not like I'm bored and everything is really good, but the guy just gets really complacent. And he doesn't try anymore because the game is over and you don't have to do anything. And I have the wife and all is well and whatever. And then it just snowballs into this.
Yeah, but I mean, like women can get complacent too, right? Like how many jokes do you have of like when's like the last time you get a blowjob and it's like your wedding night and then it's like done? Or like how many guys get like more attractive secretaries or women at the workplace that they end up cheating on their wife with and the woman's like stuck at home with the kids. Like I think that there are problems on both sides. I'm sure there are women that initiate divorce because they get bored or whatever, but I'm sure there are also guys that stop trying. I'm sure there are women that stop trying. I think that's an area that demands like some high quality research before we say women initiate 80% of divorces, therefore they're the ones causing the breakup, when everybody knows that like relationships and why they end is really complicated. Like let's say that a woman breaks up with a guy and then you're like, okay, well the woman caused it, but the woman's like, well the guy cheated on me. It's like, okay, well maybe the guy caused it. But then let's say the guy's like, this woman said she didn't want to have sex with me. We haven't fucked for 3 years. Okay, well, fuck. Well, maybe the woman caused it then, right? But then say the woman says, like, the guy stopped showering. He has fucking depression. I don't want to be near him. He's gross. Okay, well, fuck. Maybe the guy caused it, right? And maybe the guy's like, okay, well, I got depressed because my wife gained 50 pounds, right? I'm just saying, like, if we look at real world relationships, very rarely is it like, it's that guy's fault. It's hit 100%. Like maybe in terms of like physical abuse or like infidelity, where it's like, why the fuck are you cheating? Maybe in some cases like that. But generally, relationships ending are pretty complicated. And I feel like people are very quick to like reduce it to this one stat. 80% divorces are issued by women, and that's fine. It's like, I just feel like it's a little bit more complicated than that. Yeah.
So do you think that people in the red pill don't dive as deep into
they don't dive deep into anything
as much as you do?
They don't even know any of the research. Like when I debated the Rolo dipshit guy and then his much better friend Michael Sartain on the Fresh and Fit, right? One of the ending segments I did a research for was that women tend to do worse after divorce than men. And I thought I was going to get a lot of fighting in that point, but I researched that point a lot. And men fare better economically. Men tend to find partners more easier. Men are more likely to have children afterwards. Men are more likely to reproduce. Like every measurable metric, men come out better than women. And after I presented that, they were both like just silent. And then even Myron was like, are you sure you guys don't want to like say anything? And they were like, whatever. And then we just like moved on. Like very rarely do they don't engage with the data. They memorize like talking points or stats, and then they move on. Here's one you've probably heard a lot. The more likely, the more educated a woman is, the more likely she is to initiate divorce, right? Have you heard that one?
Yes.
You do.
College educated women. Yeah.
College educated women. If your woman is college educated, the chances of you getting divorced fall by like more than half. Because even though they're more likely to initiate divorce, the percentage of divorces with college education is like 30% or like 20. It's like way less than the less educated woman. But nobody knows that because they just hear the stat of like they're more likely to be the ones that initiate divorce, which is true. But the overall rate of divorce is much, much, much lower.
What's another example of a statistic that you think is blown out of proportion in the red pill community?
Body counts.
Okay.
Like the average lifetime body counts of men and women, I've read anywhere it's like 7 to 12. The idea that like most red pillars think that like the average college girl has like 30 or 50 bodies. It's like fucking insane. When I was on the Whatever podcast, the average they got around, it was like the average college girl has fucked 50 guys. When I was on Fresh and Fit once, they guessed that it was between 30 and 50% of women were being flown out to Dubai or getting offers to be flown out to 30 to 50% of college women. This is greater than the whole population Yeah, all of these things. Like most people have sex. Do you know where most sex happens is in relationships? Like that's generally where people are fucking the most too. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like all this, like who, like there's like the really basic biological ones. Like people think that a woman that's fucked 20 different guys is going to have a loose vagina, but a woman that's fucked one guy like 100 times won't. Like, does the vagina remember different dicks? Like, I don't know. It's just like all sorts of stupid shit. Yeah.
Do you think there's anything that the red pill community gets right?
I do think,
or that you agree with.
Yeah, I think broadly speaking, we tend to value each other for different reasons. Women will look at things like success and status. Men will look at things like, you know, physical attractiveness, fertility, and sexual, not fertility, physical attractiveness, which might be a proxy for fertility, but like,
well, that's what I mean.
Oh, sure, maybe, yeah. But yeah, I think broadly speaking, I think we kind of like value different things in each other. I just think they like hyper fucking exaggerate the fuck out of it and make it really toxic and adversarial.
Why do you think they do that?
I think some of it might come from a place of hurt where they've been like burned by women in the past. Like a lot of these red pill guys, when you dig into their backgrounds, have had like really rough times.
What's interesting, because some of them claim to have great relationships with their mom. Some say that they have great relationships with women. They love women.
Yeah, but their love is always like the way they express is like very, like Andrew Tate would be like, I love my woman. That's why I keep her inside all the time and never let her go outside because I don't want to get hurt. You know, like the way you might love like a cat or a dog. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of these people talk about women basically like they're looking for children, I guess. Not like in a pedophilic sense, but they're like, I want somebody that's like innocent, has never had sex before, wants to stay home all the time, doesn't ever want to go out with friends, doesn't want to go to the club or bars, doesn't want to go out and do any of these like weird things in the world and just like stays home and adds value to my life by like cooking and cleaning. And it's like, okay.
You're saying that's going to be really hard to find?
Not.
Or that won't exist? You
can find it, but like, I feel like you need to live a lifestyle that matches that. You can't be trying to drop 50 bodies by the time you're 35 and then look for a virgin. Like you haven't built yourself out to be the kind of person that would even be in a relationship with somebody like that.
Do you think that some of these guys are, I mean, do you think that they're ridiculous for the fact that most of them themselves are not in relationships?
Sometimes I think that should be kind of a red flag, right? If a lot of these people, like I'll be on these shows and ask them like, what's your like longest relationship? They're like, oh, 1 year. It's like, okay, you guys are like all in your 30s and stuff. And you're like the leading relationship advice.
But they don't really give relationship advice. They're really just talking about, well, yeah, I think they're just talking about dating and such.
Well, they're not giving dating advice either. They're usually giving advice to hook up. That's it. And then they give delusional dating advice around having a harem. Yeah.
Right.
But I do agree with that. They don't usually give dating advice. You never hear these people like, whoa, how do you resolve conflict in a relationship? Usually they'll say like, well, cheat on your partner and it'll make them more competitive. It's like, okay.
Who's the most different on camera and off camera? You've met most of these guys. Are they the same person that they are on their shows?
I would say the Fresh and Fit guys are pretty consistent on camera and off camera. I would say Rollo Tomasi is definitely like kind of feminine beta off camera. Seems like he wants to be like a breedable, submissive schoolgirl in another life, but he didn't get the chance to. And then on camera, they're a bit more tough, especially long distance.
You have some serious beef with Rollo.
A little bit. There's another guy called MLD also, famous for wearing diapers and getting fat sucked out of his body while making fun of other women for not putting in the work to lose the fat. He's a lot different on camera and off camera, or on camera depending on who he's with. He has like a lot of energy for people that are there to kind of like mutually suck each other off. But when he's confronted with like women, he turns into the most submissive, quiet person in the world. Gets very unconfident. Probably had a lot of trouble talking to people in real life. Still to this day. I hate all these people. Sorry. There's another guy called Donovan Sharp who talked for his whole life about how evil and horrible it is to date a single mom, who lied about dating a single mom for his whole life. He dated a woman who I think is older than him and has a child that he lied about for, I think, a decade. He said that like this child is actually just my nephew, when in reality it's his adopted like stepdaughter, daughter-in-law, whichever it is. Yeah. Fuck these guys. That's another reason why I respect like the fresh and fit guys. I totally disagree with their lifestyle, but from everything I've seen on and off camera, they're about the same. So like what they say is
consistency.
Yeah, I do. I do that. You know, like Hitler believed some crazy shit when he was in front of the podium, but behind the scenes, God damn it, he was telling him to kill Jews too. You know, so I give him credit for being consistent, as opposed to some people that will say one thing and then they live a total, like the Rollo guy's married for like 20 years. He says all high value men can exercise options. He's never exercised an option. His wife would kick his ass, you know, or like the MLD guy is like, he got liposuction, fake teeth, fake hair, and all this shit, and then makes fun of women for wearing makeup. Or the Donovan Sharp guy, married a single mom, and he's been with her for 10 years, making fun of any guy that would ever be with a single mom. He has a story how he got scammed by a 19-year-old heroin addict when he was like 35 and she was 19, So yeah, I respect people for their consistency, even if I disagree with their lifestyle choices. So Fresh and Fit are relatively consistent, like from what I've seen.
Do you ever pay attention to any of the dating coaches? So they're not necessarily like red pill, but they teach dating. Do you ever watch any of those guys? A
little bit. I don't watch as much because I don't have time. My little bit of engagement with that community is they tend to be better people because they're not fucking insane. So like there's a guy called Alex from Playing with Fire.
Yep, I know him. Yep.
Yeah, he seems to be a cool dude. He's like pretty the same off camera, on camera. And he'll talk about like differences in men and women. He probably exaggerates it a bit more than I do, but when he talks, I don't get the feeling that he fucking hates women. So that's like a big plus in my book. Yeah. So I think we disagree on some things, but like, yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Well, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, no
very enlightening. It's been great talking to you and hearing some of your viewpoints. And also, like I said, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is just because I was very interested in you as a person and who you were and where you've come from, because I've only been just introduced to you in maybe the past 6 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always just cool to see like where people have come from and who they are today and where they're going. So yeah, man. Thanks for being here. I know that there's a lot of your audience watching, but there's also mine as well. So anything that you want to advertise or for anyone to follow, now's the time.
Yeah, kick.com/destiny, youtube.com/destiny, instagram.com/destiny. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thanks. Any last words?
Thanks for having me. Been fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much.